My name is Professor Obazuaye. I teach political science here at Cerritos College, and I've enjoyed my time here. I've been teaching here since 1998. And Cerritos College, you've probably been here, longer than that. But Cerritos College is a global campus community. It's one of the things I like about the college here. I'm going to try and stay on my notes, otherwise I will just go in tangent. So in order for you to get the real gist of the presentation today, which is on global citizenship, how many of you have heard that term before, global citizenship? What does it mean to be a global citizen? No? Okay. All right. In the spirit of the Philosophy Club, which is one of the purposes of the club, is to provide an opportunity for students to meet in a congenial social atmosphere and to come to appreciate the discipline of philosophy and the ideas of the great philosophers of the world, as well as the thoughts of other students. And the second purpose here, one of many, is to give members, the students, the opportunity to engage in discussions with scheduled presenters who offer interesting and important topics. So I'm sure this is one of the important topics, interesting topic. I first came to this club for this presentation, same presentation, about 8 years ago, 2011. So when Tim asked me to make a presentation this year, I said, yeah, I did it before, so I just have to update my numbers and my sources of information. Okay. Shakespeare, how many of you have heard of Shakespeare? Shakespeare, okay, so it's a world-renowned literature, novelist, dramatist. He said in one of his novels, As You Like It, he said, all the world is a stage. All the world is a stage. All the world is a stage. And all the men, you and I, in the world, we are mere players. So it's not only the actors you see on the stage, like Tom Cruise or any of the actors, but we all, as human beings, we are all players in the world stage. And we all have our exits and our entrances. We all came into this world from different places. I came into this world through Nigeria. I'm originally from Nigeria. You came into this world through where? California. Your ancestors, where are they from?
San Jalisco.
Huh?
San Jalisco, Mexico.
Okay, and you?
Mexico.
Okay.
Mexico.
Mexico. Thailand. Korea.
Korea. You see, even in this small group, you answer.
Ireland and Germany, probably.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. So even in this small group here, you see how diversity is? The whole world is still here, even in this small group. All right? So we all came into this world, and we will all live this world differently. One man in his time plays many parts. Okay? I have played many parts in my small time I have lived on planet Earth. Okay? So I'm going to read to you another quote that I like. It says, to see a world in a grain of sand, to see a world in a grain of sand, and a heaven in a white flower, hold infinity in the palm of your hand, and eternity in an hour. That's by William Blake. Okay. So this type of poems and sayings make me think. Okay, I think a lot. And makes me wonder. Okay. Never stop wonder. Never stop to wonder. Don't take things for granted that you see in the world. Don't take any human being for granted that you see in the world. Because we all have a part to play in this world. All right? So in this presentation, I will be using the word world, a world citizen or a global citizen or international citizen interchangeably, synonymously, in the context of this presentation only. Okay. As you can see here, this is maybe a political map of the world. The world today has about 7.7 billion people. 7.7 billion people. Can you imagine that? You are one of the 7.7 billion people in the world today. And you are one of about 330 million people in the United States today. And you are one of about 40 million people in California today. And you are one of about 22,000 people that goes to school here. How does that make you feel? Do you ever think about that? Do you ever wonder about that? Stop to wonder. That's what philosophy is about. Stop to wonder, okay? Stop to wonder. Even in the midst of your crash schedule of life, the ups and downs of life, just stop to wonder. Sometimes just take a deep breath to wonder about the next person to you, okay? So of the 7.7 billion people that live on Earth, I can see looking around here, yeah. You probably don't know this. You make up the majority. About 51% is under the age of 30. Under the age of 30. Can you imagine that? About 51% of the global population is under the age of 30. Okay? So, again, it puts you in a very good group of people. You are not, you are just starting life, so to say, compared to the rest of us here. Okay? So, being human is what makes each of us a global citizen. So, just in case you are wondering, what's global citizenship? Just being human. Being human. Okay? And we have to realize that being human, this thing called humanity, is a very powerful idea if you think about it and think that we don't only live in this world, in this country only. We live in the world. I cannot imagine the size of the world. There may be other scholars that can tell us the size of the world in terms of length, weight, and breadth, and all that. But it's a huge world. Just by population, it's huge. Okay. But being human makes us one of it. And being human means that we all have the capacity to be good, to be bad, to be ugly. We have the capacity to be angry, to be tired, to be hungry. Being human. There's no way you go in the world that any human being you cannot find them, maybe sometimes they get hungry. Any human being can be hungry. Any human being can be angry. Any human being can be tired. So that being human is what makes us global citizens. Okay. So, each one of us has a role to play in this world. To make it a better place or to make it a bad or worse place to live in. Right. So we all need to realize our role in this world as global citizens. You may have not been out of Downey or Cerritos or Norwalk, but you are living in the world because there are people from other parts of the world that you live with here, and that makes you, again, a global citizen. I grew up in Nigeria, as I said earlier, originally from Nigeria. And Nigeria is a big country. Yesterday I just found out Nigeria is the second largest country in the world in population, with about 200 million people. Okay. Nigeria is a very diverse country. We refer to Nigeria as mini Africa. That means there's almost no language or culture in Africa that you will not find in Nigeria. We are so diverse. There are about 200. Here we use ethnic groups, okay? But there we use tribes and languages. So over 200. So I'm from one of the small one, the Edo people, from Benin City, Nigeria. But even when I was growing up in Benin City, there were people from different tribes in my city, in my state. Nigeria has 36 states today. So the school I attended, elementary school, we have diversity of students. Elementary school, high school, the same thing. When I first came to this country many years ago, I came to go to school. And there was a time I was thinking, this was when I participated in the Mali United Nations event, simulation, in Anchorage, Alaska. That's where I went to college, Alaska Pacific University. And I started thinking, I said, wow, this is a good idea. Maybe one day I will be the Nigerian ambassador to the United Nations. That was a thought that went through my mind. Because I always see myself as an international person. So my interaction has not always been with people of my own kind in terms of my own language people or culture people. I interact with them, but also with people from other diverse culture. And when I came here, I found that, I can interact with people from different parts of the world. There at Alaska Pacific University, we had a very diverse campus community too, because it was like an international campus. We had students from many parts of the world, from China, from Ghana, from Turkey, from Sri Lanka, from Nigeria, from Liberia, from Senegal, different parts of the world. And again, that boosted my thought of being an international person, the way I've always seen myself. And so that makes me appreciate very much what I do here as a teacher and just my interaction with students. It keeps that feeling and that consciousness in me that I'm a human being and a person of the world, not just a person here at Cerritos College or when I go back home to Rancho Cucamonga, not just a Rancho Cucamonga person, but I'm a global person. And so that influences, shapes my attitude toward people and my attitude toward my students in particular. So I don't see students and say, you are all the same. No. I see students and try to understand how can I get the message to you from your point of view, from your own background. I try my best, but sometimes I know that I don't get through because of the result that I see in my students. But I don't get discouraged. Okay? That even makes me think more. How can I do better in terms of my presentation of my lectures? Because I realize that I'm speaking to global citizens. I'm a person that likes education from my childhood. Because I think what made me realize my global personality is education. Education is a very important tool to any human being. Now, education is not only being in academia as we are here in a classroom. Education is the acquisition of knowledge. So it begins from home, from parents, from family members. Okay. So Nelson Mandela once said, how many of you have heard of Nelson Mandela? He's dead now. Okay. He once said that education is the most powerful tool that we can use to change the world. The most powerful weapon we can use to change the world. And I add to that one student at a time. So having taught here for many years now, I came to that realization, seeing that in any of my classroom, I teach American government, I teach international relations, I teach comparative politics, I teach Model United Nations class. And so in my classes, I would ask students to tell where they are from, just as I did now. And we find that in any single class, I will have students from at least 10 to 15 or even more nations. So I came to realize that I am changing the world, as Nelson Mandela said, one student at a time. One student at a time. education is very, very important. So your opportunity to be here, to be educated at Cerritos College, do not take it for granted. And also, education is not necessarily academia, as I said earlier, because some people think about education, or higher education for that matter, that is going to college or university. Not necessarily. Okay? So if you've been here for 1 or 2 or 3 semesters now, you find that your major originally was economics, and you came to realize, no, that's not me, as I did a few years ago. I finished my bachelor's. I wanted to go and do MBA. At the time, MBA was popular. Masters of Business Administration was popular. I got my bachelor's in management science. MBA. So I went to the first class for my master's. It was an evening class. It was a finance class. The professor came from the bank. He's a banker, but he teaches part-time. He came and he started talking all this stock and exchange, and I couldn't understand anything he was saying. I was sitting at the back. At the end of the lecture that day, I said, thank you, bye-bye to MBA. Okay? So the next day I went to Admissions and Records Office. I changed my major to Public Administration. Okay? So I'm saying all that to say this. That's one of our capacity as human beings, is to realize what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are. And the ability to realize your weakness can be a strength too. So, if you are here and you are thinking, maybe you are being forced to be here, taking this philosophy class or being a philosophy major, but you realize, no, it's not really for you. You just like cooking, doing stuff with your hand. The interesting thing is that still requires education. We still have to learn. Okay, so even if you are a cook, you still have to learn the measurement. Some of the things we take for granted in school, measurement, fraction, 1 cup of water, 1 egg, and so on and so forth. You still have to learn measurement. You still have to learn how to mix things together. There is no work field or no career, no profession that does not require some type of educating, learning the jargon, the language, okay, the principles of the field. So that's what education is. So a citizen is a person born or naturalized in the United States. That's the United States definition, the U.S. Constitution definition, the 14th Amendment. Okay. However, if you just take that definition on its own, that definition implies that as a citizen of the United States, or one who lives in the United States, you have rights and you have responsibilities. Sometimes people don't realize the second R here, which is responsibility. They know about their rights, but they don't realize that with rights comes responsibility. Freedom or liberty is a responsibility. Some of you may be able to relate to that at your young age now. You grow up, you became 16, 17, or 18, you move away from home, you begin to realize, it's a big responsibility. You have to pay your car note or buy gas for your car, food and eat, and all of that. Freedom is responsibility. Citizenship refers to the relationship between a citizen and his or her nation, which involves rules that apply to a citizen or a person that lives within the geographical area, as well as benefits. Okay? Rules as well as benefits. All right. Citizenship, according to Aristotle, some of you may have heard about Aristotle in your philosophy class, is the sharing in the civic life. So citizenship involves civic life and also being ruled. Okay. So citizens and the government have what we call a reciprocal relationship. Okay. We give something to the government gives us something. That's what Aristotle is saying here. So if you go back to the first definition, whether you are born or naturalized in the United States, if you live in the United States, you can be seen from the perspective of Aristotle as a citizen because you are participating in the ruling of this country. The laws that government make applies to you, and you obey the law, so you share in the rights and responsibilities of this country. That's what Aristotle is talking about. This is a global definition of citizenship. Aristotle's definition is a global definition of citizenship. Now, in the academic sense, there is no definite, no specific definition of citizenship. According to scholars, that focuses their learning on this concept of citizenship. However, there's one example of citizenship as a definition. It is global citizenship is the idea that all people have rights and civic responsibilities that come with being a member of the world with whole world philosophy and sensibilities rather than as a citizen of a particular nation or place. It refers to a borderless world which is characterized by an awareness of the diversity of cultures and cross-cultural communication. Here on campus, we have a diversity officer, and we have programs here that tend to promote diversity. That is us learning different cultures and learning to interact with other people. Language is a very, very interesting thing. If we speak different languages, we think differently, and we see things differently. It is also characterized by an understanding of the world as an amalgam, that's a combination of complex and interconnected systems. An awareness of the growing set of critical issues that cut across international borders and necessitates global response. Terrorism necessitates global response. HIV/AIDS necessitates global response. Malaria, kinds of diseases. These are issues that are not limited to a geographical boundary. It's also characterized by an understanding of the impact of one's choices and the differences they can make, according to Heidi Hobbs and Harry Chernosky. One's choices and the differences they can make. Very, very important. The choices we make impact other people. Key elements of global citizenship. One is knowledge and understanding. Knowledge and understanding. Under that is social justice and equity, diversity, globalization and interdependence, sustainable development, peace and conflict. So I'm going to go over this quick. If you have questions, if I'm going too fast, you can stop me and ask questions. Skills. Okay, so notice knowledge and understanding, and then skills. Skills. We need skills. When you apply for a job, what your employers or potential employer is looking for is SKA. How much SKA do you have? S for skills, K for knowledge, and A for ability. Okay. What SKA are you bringing to the job? Are you coming as an asset or a liability? Okay, so knowledge, skills. The skills include the ability to think critically, critical thinking, ability to argue effectively, ability to challenge injustice and inequalities, respect for people and things, and cooperation and conflict resolution. Values and attitudes. So again, these are key elements of global citizenship. The sense of identity and self-esteem. Empathy. Right? Because you are a human being, you can feel what other people feel. Because you can be hungry and other people are hungry. You know when they are hungry. You can feel what it means to be hungry. All right? Commitment to social justice and equity. Value and respect for diversity. Concern for the environment and commitment to sustainable development. Believe that people can make a difference. That is huge. People can make a difference. You can make a difference. Okay? That's from Oxfam program. move from industrial to information and knowledge-based age. So according to this scholar, Kenichi Omae, globalization is moving us now as human beings from industrial. So there was a time we used crude implements for producing food and for livelihood. And then there was the Industrial Revolution. But we are in the post-industrial revolution, according to these scholars. We are in the information and knowledge-based world or age. And that is very important because some people don't realize that. If you don't realize the change that is going on around you and you don't adapt to the change, you will be become isolated from the world that you live in. Even though you live in the same world, you become isolated because you don't understand, you don't know what is going on. And so when it comes to career, when it comes to just interacting with people, you are still thinking about the industrial age, whereas we have advanced, we have moved on from the industrial age to the knowledge-based, information-based, technology-based world. So the industrial age, he says, is characterized by nation, state, and governments. Okay? That means during the industrial age, people were concerned about their geographical area, about the politics of the country, and just how to live. A good example, if you take an American government, you would have learned that in the beginning of this republic, the United States of America, the founding fathers just wanted to focus on this United States. How can they build a more perfect union? That was their concern. They didn't want to be bothered with what is going on in Europe because they just came from there. And they wanted to focus on here. And that we refer to as the doctrine of isolationism. All right? It is said that when George Washington, the first president, was leaving office, he warned the political leader, be careful. Don't get entangled with what is going on in Europe. And so, in that sense, he just wanted to focus on building this new country. The United States is a relatively new country compared to other countries in the world, other developed countries in the world. Okay. National sovereignty. The concern was national sovereignty. How can we keep ourselves together here? Strong control by central forces. Sensitivity to borders. Okay. Domestic capital and protection of domestic companies. And we call that protectionism. One state prosperity through development of export-led, manufacturing-driven economic growth. Government initiative, good government strengthens priority industries. Change occurs gradually over decades and dominated by Germany, Japan, UK, and the US. So these are the countries that dominate the industrial age. Now we are in the information, technology, and knowledge-based age, the late part of 20th century to the 21st century we are in now. And he said it's characterized by private capital and information, citizen sovereignty, again realizing that we are citizens of the world, autonomous networks of interdependent private enterprises and regional entities, inherently borderless. So when we talk about being inherently borderless, some of you may know, but you may not realize. How many of you have heard of Khan Academy? Khan Academy. Okay. He's a guy, he's originally from India, and he went to school here, and he lives here, and he has a relative in India. So one day he started interacting with his cousin or nephew in India, going to school and trying to help her with her homework. And before you know it, he realized, wow, this cannot be just for one person. It can be for the whole world. You can go to YouTube, you can interact with anybody in any part of the world today through the internet. We live in a global society. So he wrote this book called The One World Schoolhouse, Education Reimagined. So when we talk about borderlessness, that's what he's referring to. that the technology the technology age we live in today has made it possible for the world to be very big or the world to be very small, depends on how we want to see it. Okay. Welcomes foreign capital and world-class companies. That's a very classic Americanism. Okay, what makes America America is because you have people from different parts of the world with their talent and knowledge here. Okay, if you want to see that in a negative way, you can refer to the U.S. as brain drainer. We are draining the brain from other countries. But if you see it positively, you can see the good that the United States is doing for the rest of the world. Just because the opportunity is here for people from capital, which is money and resources, human and natural resources from other parts of the world to be here. It aims for harmonious regional prosperity based on interdependent, again that word interdependency, network-centric companies creating information-intensive services to capture value from customers. Entrepreneurial initiatives. Okay. Those of you that are under age 30, you probably know of someone that just does something on YouTube. They are millionaires now. They don't leave their home. They are probably in their pajamas at home, and they are just doing something on YouTube, and they are making money. Okay, entrepreneurial initiatives. Okay, good government nurtures regional development, not focused on specific industry. Change occurs suddenly in months to years. That is very true of the technology age we live in today. The technology is not static, it's not dormant. It's very, very dynamic. It's changing every time. Some of you have heard of smartphone, right? Well, so if we have smartphone, that means there is dumb phone too, right? Does it mean that the phone before the smartphone were dumb phones? No, those phones were very useful for their time. But now we have something different that can do more. Okay, that's why they call it smartphone. This age, the scholar says, is dominated by Hong Kong, Singapore, Taiwan, China, India, Mexico, US, and New Zealand. Okay, this information, technology, knowledge-based age that we live in. All right, where if you hear of Hong Kong, Singapore, Taiwan, there are three of the countries that we refer to as the Asian tigers, way in the 80s and 90s. Okay, Korea will be one of them. South Korea will be one of them. So, what is the implication for us living in this information technology and knowledge-based age? The implication is globalization. Globalization has its positive and negative aspects to it. Okay. New economy, the idea of global. Yeah. I heard this from one of my professors when I was in graduate school. Global is thinking globally and acting locally. So you are behaving knowing that you live in a global society, and your behavior, your action impact the whole world. A good example. The food we eat, the car we drive impact the world, the environment. We don't realize that. Okay. So, in that sense, even though we are living locally, we are impacting the world globally. New geopolitics of food. Example, Saudi Arabia, South Korea, and China in 2008 started buying or leasing land in other countries on which to grow grain for themselves. That is very true. China has bought lands in Nigeria to grow cassava, what you call tapioca, I think, or yuca, here. All right. Young entrepreneurship. Okay. Young people are very, very active now in the global economy, and you all can be one of them. The role of education for global citizenship. So some observation. I already read Nelson Mandela to you. Education is the most powerful weapon we can use to change the world. A human being is not in any proper sense a human being until he is educated. Very powerful. Okay. The training of a human mind is not complete without education. Again, realize what I said about education earlier. Education is the acquisition of knowledge. Okay, we never stop educating. There used to be a time when some people thought when they graduated from high school that was the end of education for them. No, even if you have a PhD, you never stop educating yourself, learning, acquiring knowledge. Education makes a man a right thinker. The ability to think critically. Don't just always take things at the surface. Only through the attainment of education, man is enabled to receive information from the external world, to acquaint himself with the past history and receive all necessary information regarding the present. Without education, man is as though in a closed room, and with education he finds himself in a room with all its windows open towards outside the world. That's from Google. Okay, got that from Google 2011. Now, every week in my class, I write on the board what I call my wise sayings. And I tease my students saying, one of these days I will compile them and publish them, maybe 10 or 20 years from now, and I hope you buy it. Okay, Professor Obazuaye's wise saying for college students. Okay. One of them is, you are my window to the world. You, my students, you are my window to the world. And vice versa, I am your window to the world. You learn from me, I learn from you. I know that as students, you all think that you are coming to learn from me, you want to learn. No, we learn from you too. At least I know I learn from my students. Okay? My students turned in their report last week, and I read many of them. Two of them caught my attention that I can remember, I can talk about right now. One of them said, based on his research and his learning from that report, he came to the realization that politics is not a fancy thing. Now, if you read the news, you follow the news, you will realize, yeah, that is true. Politics is not a fancy thing. However, he went on to say, now it is more tangible to me. That means, whereas before he did that report, he did not pay attention to politics. He just thought it does not impact him. But after doing his research and taking the class, he has come to the realization that politics does impact him. Okay. Now let me tell you the secret behind that conclusion. He's from Vietnam. And he read that the current administration is thinking about deporting Vietnamese that came here before 1995, that had the asylum protection. And that upset him. He said, I don't like that. That's not fair. And so now he realized how much politics impact on him, because it hits home to him. Okay? The other student wrote about a bill that has been proposed in Congress. It's HR, that means House Resolution, House of Representatives Bill 576. Is to amend the Medicare program. They refer to it as seniors have eyes, ears, and teeth. SHIT for short. Okay. Seniors have eyes, ears, and teeth. And you are probably wondering, what does that mean? Well, apparently the Medicare program does not cover vision, dental, and ears for seniors. And I'm thinking, what kind of nonsense is that? That's preventative. So if seniors cannot go check their eyes, their vision, they can't check their ears and their dental until they are all pulling out, then now you pay them thousands of dollars to go and replace it. Okay? Politics does impact you. That's what our student found out. Okay? So I brought these books. I want to read a little bit from this one here. This is 7 Sins of American Foreign Policy. there's philosophy behind it. The philosophy behind it is this, that in the United States, there are at least 10 languages, at least, okay, major languages spoken in this country. So other than English and Spanish, the 10 languages most frequently used at home in the United States as of 2000 are Chinese, by 2 million people, French, 1.6 million people, German, 1.4 million people, Tagalog, the language of the Philippines and nearby nations, 1.2 million people, Vietnamese, 1 million people, Italian, 1 million people, Korean, 0.9 million people, Russian, 0.7 million people, Polish, 0.7 million people, and Arabic, 0.6 million people. That's a lot, okay, of languages. So next time you see somebody, maybe because of the color of their skin, you are thinking they are my homeboys. For all you know, they are not your homeboy. Okay, they may be from Spain and you are from Nicaragua. But because you look the same in your skin color, you think you are the same. No, we are all global citizens. Okay, that's the moral behind that. I brought this also. It's a global woman. I was in the Center for Teaching Excellence. I saw this. I said, why it caught my attention? Global woman, what does that mean? Well, this book is about women from all around the world, some of the things they are going through today in life. They are nannies, they are maids, they are sex workers in the new economy we live in. Now, we can see this as the negative of globalization, that people can leave their home country to another country and be nannies and maids and be abused or misused because people don't know their value. But again, this is being global. Okay. So what are we doing here at Cerritos College to make you global citizens? Well, this is an example. Just being here where you are now, it's an example. We have the Global Studies program here. There's a brochure here. You can take one before you leave. And we have the World Cultures program here too. Okay. We have Study Abroad program. Okay. Some students this year will be going to Italy. And many of you have heard of the Study Abroad program. It's a new initiative. We worked on it years ago. We couldn't pull it up, but now I'm happy that other people have been able to work on it, revive it, and pull it up. Okay. The Study Abroad program fosters self and professional development, cultural empathy, and global awareness. So if you want to learn about the Study Abroad program, you can contact Professor Steve Clifford or Lisa Boutin-Vitale. We have the Model United Nations class here that I teach every semester. Since 2014, we'll be teaching that class. It's Monday at 6 o'clock. So if you are interested, we'll be teaching it in the fall from 6 to 8:50 p.m. We also have the Model United Nations Club. Okay, to join the club, you can go through Falcon Sync. I am the faculty advisor. You can contact me if you have questions. We have the Global Studies Club by Professor Haas. You can contact him there. So I hope when you leave here today, you begin to feel yourself more as global citizens, that you are not just in the world as Cerritos or Norwalk, you are in the world, okay, with 7 other billion people, okay. So I will stop and ask if you have any questions, any comments, any observations. Yes, sir.
It's not really a question, but more of like what I got. That this is important for people in today's society, where focus is more on like individuality and people to be themselves and pursue what they like, but that they shouldn't forget we're all interconnected somehow.
Exactly. It's one of the paradoxes of the United States. Okay. One of the paradoxes of this country is we are very individualistic, but we are very much about connectivity. Alexis de Tocqueville, when he visited the United States in the 1800s, he realized, he noticed that almost everywhere he went, people were in associations. So he referred to us as a nation of joiners. We are always joining groups. In order to get something done, you need to be in a group, organizing and organization is what makes things happen. Even though one person can make a difference, but being in a group is a more create more force for difference, for change, than just one person trying to do it by themselves. So very good observation. Yes, sir.
I didn't see the first part of the talk, but I'm wondering what your take is on the resurgence of nationalism and criticism. I don't embrace nationalism myself, but increasingly there are people who say that the United States should look out for only its own citizens. So the idea of globalism or global citizenship is, according to that view, at odds with national self-interest and identity. Why is this risen in the last several years?
There are probably many reasons for it, but from political science point of view, and we just talked about that in class yesterday, Ty,
Yes.
when Kevin gave his presentation on the EU. Okay, so one of my students gave a presentation on the European Union yesterday, and they talked about Brexit. Why is Great Britain wanting to separate from the European Union? Well, briefly, from my observation and what I think is when I think the main factor is economy. Okay, so just to use the EU, when the EU came together, the 28 countries, they said we are going to use the same currency and do business together, trade together without borders, without tariff, without all that. It was good for a while, but because the citizens from Spain, if Spain is doing poorly, can go to Britain that is doing well, and because they have what we call social welfare system, those from poor countries can go to the wealthy countries and be able to partake from the services in that country. And so it's now putting pressure on the economy of that country. So I think that's one of the reasons that people are becoming nationalistic is because of immigration, the interconnectedness and interdependency, migration from one part of the world to another, impacting the economy, and so the natives, in this sense, feel like they are being overstretched, and so they want to protect themselves from this pressure. That's just one.
But that's not really, that economic argument I've heard works exactly the opposite way, that immigration brings...
It depends on who is immigrating. It depends. Okay, it depends on who is immigrating. So as I said earlier, we can refer to the United States as brain drainer. That means people that have capital. If you have $20,000, I think it's $20,000, at least $20,000 or so to invest in this country, you can come easily. You can immigrate easily to the United States. But if you don't have, if you are living on $1 a day, it's a different perspective. Yeah.
Also, the element of the European Union was, at least as an offshoot of the idea of promoting peace, which the problem with nationalism, especially in Europe, all you have to do is go look at the 1930s and realize that it's the most bloody war ever.
Right.
And if it goes back to the way it is, it's going to go back to what it was doing. It's just this idea of separation and being separate from everybody else is not something that produces what you call peace.
Right.
But the idea is that everybody wants to be something for themselves. The issue of, I think, Brexit, I personally believe that the biggest driver of that was Vladimir Putin, who said we need to break up this European Union because it's against our ability to advance and to expand the world of the world of the Russians, so that we can be the dominant thing in the world and so forth. And if we can separate each other out, break each other up, we can make ourselves better. That's typical fascism, to do that sort of thing. So we're dealing with the rise of fascism again in Europe, and that's what's seen as this stuff called Brexit or whatever the hell you want to call it. The old idea of the European Union was a follow-on of the original idea of let's not have the type of nationalism and so forth that led to the fact that the Germans wanted to kill everybody else and make a place for themselves.
Right.
All the rest of this kind of stuff that was going on.
Yeah.
That's why we have a class in our philosophy department given here called cultural diversity. In other words, the idea is that it takes a position that says the e pluribus unum.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're all in it together.
Yeah.
From the many
Out
one.
of many one, yeah.
And we got to realize we need to be in it together. If we don't, if we get broken up into these different little pieces, we're going to end up fighting each other to the point where the fascists are going to come in and simply take over. In fact, they're doing that. They did that this time. Our wonderful Trump is if there isn't anybody close to fascism, I don't know about anybody else but him. He basically is.
So
It's just that's the trouble we're getting into.
So again, you know, the United States seems to be a paradox, all right? You know, e pluribus unum. Did you all know that that is the original motto of the United States? It's on your dollar bill, e pluribus unum, out of many one.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. In God We Trust came in the 50s during the Cold War.
Yeah, that's when they were trying to show they weren't communists.
Right. Okay.
That's why we added to the under God to the Pledge of Allegiance
Right.
at that point in time, because it wasn't there when I grew up.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Any other comments, questions? Thank you for your time. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you. And if I can be of any help to you around campus, just pull my shirt and say, Professor Obazuaye, you know, can I talk to you? My office is in SS 217 on the second floor. I have open door all the time. If I'm in my office, the door is open. You are always welcome. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.